Welcome to the channel. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Join me on today's video where I'll be looking at the Cestrian Master Series version 2. A couple of weeks ago I did do a triple unboxing of the new Cestrian series, which is an improvement on the Master Series and the Dive Watch series, and they also released the Field Watch series, which I did the review on. Now with this particular watch, as I mentioned in the unboxing video, there's a few changes which they made to the previous one, and I did happen to review the version 1, and that was a black dial version, and I was very impressed with Cestrian watches. What they offer is incredible and unbeatable value for money in this very particular watch market that they are in. Now, the guys at Watch Nation are the ones that started off the Cestrian brand, and as I said, within that category, Cestrian watches is by far the best value for money that you can possibly get. Now, the only competition Cestrian really have is brands like Loris, Ingersoll, and your Seiko 5s. So I think we can all agree, when it comes to that kind of comparison, Cestrian watches does beat all of them, just purely on specifications and also the overall finish and build quality. So I'll give you guys an overview of the specifications and also the dimensions. Nothing noteworthy on specifications, just the usual that we're getting, your sapphire crystal, Seiko NH35, 200 meters of water resistance. That's one of the upgrades that this watch received. Dimensions wise, it is a 40mm watch. You've got a thickness of 12.5 millimeters and a lug to lug of around 45 millimeters with a lug width of 20 mil. Now the reason you see my Seiko sub right there is because just have a look at the dimensions there. This 40mm from Cestrian does actually weigh incredibly close to the 38mm just due to that lug to lug. This being 45 and the Saab being just around 44.5. So I think for a sports watch, these dimensions are really important. Even though it is a 40mm, slightly larger, but you can see there's not much difference between the two, and the Cestrian also weighs very similar in terms of overall fit, just dependent on these lug to lug over here. Now of course the short lug to lug does give it a bit more of a stockier look, only being 12.5mm thick, but still that shape there, including that bezel slope, does make it look quite short and stubby. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Now let's move on to the improvements that they have given us on the V2. So we start off with a screw down crown. The previous model had a push-pull crown because it had a lower water resistance rating. Now to increase that water resistance rating, Cestrian gave this watch not only a screw down crown, which is around 7mm, it's a really good size. They also closed off the case back, as the previous one had an exhibition case back, which means you get the full 200 meters of water resistance, which of course makes this watch a go anywhere and do anything type of watch. Now they also made another change to the visuals of the bracelet. The previous one did have polished center links. Now while I didn't think at that time that was a bit of a mismatch, because that center polishing did match that sort of large, polished bezel and these polished highlights that you see along the case. I've now gone for a fully brushed 3-link bracelet, which I think overall a lot more people do appreciate, as it does reduce the amount of wear that is visible on the watch. And the bracelet is brushed very nicely. You've got polished sides, split pins which hold the links together, and the brushing is consistent. Linear brushing, and as it goes, for that price point of £145, it's a bracelet which is really good. Now one important change they did make to the clasp is they added a third micro adjustment. Now this is very important, and if you know about these smaller clasps, then you really know what I'm talking about, because the Seiko Saab clasp, the original clasp, did only have 2, and that makes the fit really awkward. It's either just a bit too loose or a bit too tight. It's not right in the middle where you want it. Now with the addition of a third micro adjustment hole, it does change all that and it makes the watch sit perfectly. Now with this Saab, you can see an aftermarket bracelet from Uncle Seiko, and I've used the Uncle Seiko clasp because they do also accommodate for this, adding 3 micro adjustments. As you can see, I'm using the middle one, and the way I've adjusted this strap, the clasp sits center on the back of the wrist, and the watch also sits dead center, and again not being too tight or being too loose. Now these are important points that Cestrian have addressed. I think they've made enough changes for this to be a genuine version 2, a considerable upgrade over the version 1. Now there is still one thing which I'd hoped they had changed, and I think it was something which I called out on the version 1 as well, and it's that second hand. Now versus this background and the handset that you see they've used particularly on this watch, that second hand does really stand out, and it doesn't stand out for a good reason. That second hand is just way too thin when you look at it compared to the minute hand and the hour hand. It doesn't really suit the overall look that you get with this handset, and also it's just too short. It's not even reaching the outer minute track. Now that's something standard. I think by now a lot of watchmakers and brands have sort of captured that you do need perfectly proportioned hands. That really would have been the icing on the cake. As I said previously, these are prototype models, so there are a couple of defects on this dial. The first one being at the 2 o'clock marker. You can see there's a bit of debris there. The second one, I don't know if the camera picks it up, there's a bit of a smudge on that sunburst dial. And also at the 12 o'clock twin baton, you can see those pips. They are not perfectly centered on the batons. Now, I don't really like these pips. I don't really understand the purpose, because the batons are fully loomed and the loom is very good. The pips offer a BGW9 look, but I think you are asking for trouble when you do add pips onto these polished bevels. Because it's a sports watch, it does have that sort of dressy aesthetic as well. I would have much rather preferred that they got rid of the dots and just left that beveled edge on those hour markers, on those batons, just to really help this dial stand out, give it full luster, especially considering this particular colorway. This is their champagne sunburst dial. They do have a few other color options available. I really did like the black one because that is a nice deep glossy black, but if you do like the champagne, I think it's a really nice shade of champagne. It's not like over the top and it's not too pale as well. It's somewhat in the middle. The orange text is okay. I don't know, again, if it really responds well to the champagne dial. I think black would have been a lot nicer. It would have given it a more of an understated look. You've also got the applied shield logo from Cestrian. Now that shield logo is significant to the brand origins, because it represents the city of Chester, where this watch sort of originated from. The watch is also nicely finished. You've got nice linear brushing on the ends of those lugs and that polished bevel which goes around the side of the case. Even on this production sample, you can see a very crisp edge and line, which does define the two types of finishing. And moving over to the side of the watch, you do have brushed finish, and I'm glad they went for brushing on the side. I think on all sports watches, you really need that brushing on the side to obviously, hide the damage and the little scratches that you get, but also it does make that highlight just mean that much more. The bezel is also fully polished. Very dramatic slope on that bezel, which gives you a very thin appearance when you look at the watch head on. The fit and finish of those end links is quite good, especially considering the price point. Even Seiko suffer with good end link fit and finish, but that fits seamlessly almost. You don't have drill lugs and you don't have quick release spring bars, and I don't know if that's something that they can possibly bring in at this price point, but it would be a nice touch. I'm impressed with the amount of improvements they've made, and they've also kept the cost way down. Just under £150. As I stated earlier at the start of the video, the only competition Cestrian have is your basic Seiko 5 models, which they are very dated. They don't even have a hand winding movement. They've got their 7S movement still. I just hope they do a V3 to this, where they do really fix that seconds hand, because that does bother me the most. So that's it from me today, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And like always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.